Hi everyone, and welcome to our discussion on Screenflow. So Screenflow, right now I am recording with Quicktime so that I can show you the program and the editing of Screenflow. So Quicktime is really easy to use. I'm not going to do a tutorial video on it. You essentially choose Quicktime. In Quicktime itself, you just go File, New Screen Recording, and then press Start. Like, it's super easy. But I'm using Quicktime Player right now to record this particular screencast because I will be working on the editing side of Screenflow. So here we are in Screenflow. So as you can see, this is the Screenflow here. And this is going to be the type of program that I used when I was recording how to work in Camtasia. So Screenflow, the reason why I really like Screenflow is that it allows you to do picture-in-picture really easily. So the other version of picture-in-picture that I do is going to be a high-resolution picture-in-picture that I would use for my evergreen lectures. Now that's going to be with the DSLR recording, and then that is also going to have the slide deck or whatever I want to, and I'm going to do that in Camtasia. And that's going to be a little bit more production work, so I don't necessarily want to do that every time, but it is nice to have a face to the name and the voice when you are doing every day or every week type of announcements, and you want to do a screencast and make it a little bit more personable, then Screenflow is definitely what you would want to do. So what Screenflow does is when it's recording directly off of your camera, off of your laptop, and this is why it's not going to give you the highest resolution of image, but for something quick or trying to do a tutorial, then it's pretty good. So here we have the file that was our discussion on Camtasia. So we can see there's my desktop, there's that file that we were working with. And then in Screenflow, similar to Camtasia, there is the timeline here, although in Screenflow it automatically splits the timeline into two. So you have your audio files, your WAV files here, and then that's going to be the video. So usually what I do for the recording, I did it in one take, so I don't need to add any clips together. This same way is going to give you different views if I want to get a little bit closer. And let's go ahead and go back to the front. So you can see there's a lot of time that I wasn't doing anything. So I'm just kind of tootling around, getting stuff set up, moving stuff around, very unexciting. So I would obviously cut all of that off of the video because there's no need for anyone to be looking at that. What I do in my first cut is find where the waveform starts and then just cut to there. And to do that, you just turn it into this little kind of like left-right arrow and then slide it over. I just do a rough cut at this point. And then before you move it, you want to do the second one. Otherwise it becomes a little bit of a pain. So then just slide it over and boop, pop it into place. Then I'm going to slide both of these to the beginning of the timeline here. And then I can get a little bit more refined with it. But first I want to change what's going on over here. So this is it's going to be two essentially files that it's recording. So this is your canvas, just like we had in Camtasia. Here's the recording of my desktop, and then here's the recording of my face. And there's not going to be a huge amount of post-production editing you can do in terms of fixing the lighting or doing a lot with the voice. There's a little bit that you can do, and generally I do use cropping, but if I'm going to need to do a lot of fixing of things, then I generally won't do it in Screenflow. But Screenflow is really easy for just getting these out. So I'm going to go ahead and move this back. I want that to be full. You can also trade to see, like, oh, I want the desktop to be big. I'm sorry, the desktop to be small, and I want to make my face bigger. It's all about me. Just know that because you're taking it off of your laptop camera, you're going to start to lose resolution the larger you get. It also depends on your lighting. So I specifically didn't do any fancy lighting for these because I wanted to show kind of what I would do on want to make it feel very cozy type of content product, and this would be a product that I would know is going to be consumable. Something like my weekly updates to my classes, where I want it to feel like, hey, I just shot this and we're just doing a nice friendly chat, no big deal. Then I want it to kind of look rough and tumbly, because I know it's not going to last more than a week. I don't want my picture that big because it's kind of ridiculous. Let's go ahead and and really for these, I want it to be about the desktop. I want to make it personable, so it's not just like right now, all you hear is my voice, but it doesn't need to be that large of my face. So let's go ahead and make it a little bit smaller. Also on Screenflow, it has this ability, let me show it right here, to have this recording monitor. And this recording monitor can be found just in the icon, and then you just show recording monitor when you're actually recording, but we're in editing mode, not recording mode. And then I just use this to make sure that it's still recording in my placement, and then I cover that up in post-production. So we're going to move that. I'm going to take my picture. I'm going to I'm in my kitchen here, and I'm not really following too many rules. Generally, for your backdrop, you want it to be something that is going to be even. You don't want it to have anything that's going to be popping out of your head. So see right here, kind of, I have this drapery kind of popping out of my head. That's not really what I would do for a nice evergreen type of video, but I wanted this to feel like, oh, I just pop it into your inbox today. Oh, look at me, I'm in my kitchen. And I am in my kitchen. That's my stove. That's my unicorn plush toy. And I may or may not want that in the shot. So, really be cognitive of what's behind you, and is that something that you want to broadcast to the world? So for this, I'm not ashamed of my unicorn plush toy. I'm happy to broadcast to the world. In fact, I am right now. But for the final production, maybe I want to cut that off. So I can either just move it over to the side and move it. Anything in this gray area is going to be off the canvas off the final product. And I probably want to get rid of my stove here. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to go into cropping. I'm going to crop that left a bit, make it a little bit tighter. Maybe I want to make my face a little bit larger. Can do all that, decide what I want to do. All right, so now I have that, and now I'm going to do a little bit more with making sure that it's a good starting point. So now I want to get a little bit deeper and a little bit closer on the micro level to see where these waveforms are going, so I can make a nice clean cut. So I'm going to go ahead and start and play it. So I generally always will start with it's something very, very common that most people do, and that's that little waveform that you get right there, constantly, right? That's just what I do. So I want to cut that off. I don't really need that. So let's see where I want to cut it. So sometimes I'll cut it with the in-breath, like there it is. So I probably will cut it there. I'm going to, nope. Now, of course, it doesn't want me to cut. There we go. Why isn't that cutting? I'll do it the other way. So we're just going to drag and cut this way. Let's see how that sounds. So next up, okay, that sounds good. My face is kind of doing a weird thing, but that's all right. So let's drag to the right. Oh, no, there we go. Now that they're even, I'm going to drag them both. Now that they're both cut back to the front, I'm going to check that. So next up, I want to talk a little. Great. Okay, so I'm going to make that a little bit smaller because it doesn't need to be that deep. So you see these red marks? The red marks is when I got too loud, and that's pretty common for me. So everyone kind of has their own jam, and for me, I spike a lot, and I am really loud. So I will get these quite often. That's not a surprise. And so let's see if we can do a little something with it. So let's go ahead and go into audio. Again, if you need a lot of work on the audio, Screenflow is not going to do it for you. I would take this file out of Screenflow and then either pop it into Camtasia or pop it into SoundSoap if you are having like really bad audio. But I mean, for me, this is kind of normal. I don't need to pop it out. So I'm gonna maybe take like a little ducking. Let's see what that sounds like. Bit about editing software. So I am in my kitchen. Let's try one of the hot zones here. Using my Yeti. Okay, so then some of those hot zones are for when I put the mic like really close, so that's not a big deal. And then let's just try what it sounds like without the ducking. So with ducking. About that and how to get rid of that, other than just having a different location. I'm currently, so it helps a little bit, and you kind of adjust that. So I'm going to do a 10% duck, and you can kind of play around with these. And if you wanted to filter some of the noise from the background, let's say my fridge was still plugged in, and you could kind of, mess around with that to bring some of that down. So I'm going to, other than those sounds there that I know are from me moving the mic, let's try over here. At one of the videos that we had as part of our production set. Yeah, that's not too bad. And really, keep in mind how much time you have, how much this is going to be consumed, and what your overall goals and outcome are for the video, because you can spend a ton of time doing post-production stuff, getting stuff perfect, and people are mostly going to be watching on their phones, perhaps their laptops. So in terms of resolution, and in terms of what people are going to notice and really take away from the video, it's definitely about having a quality product that sounds good enough. It doesn't need to be completely perfect, and that is going to be delivered in a clear way. And part of that is also going to be your content. So don't try to get too caught up in making a perfect product. People understand that you are not a professional producer, and that's okay. And I think that in the YouTube age, this is actually a part of the artistic ability of makers now. So don't feel that you need to have yourself held to these enormous standards. So at this point, I've already taken and downloaded it onto my desktop. Now, okay, I think that sounds good. After I've already cropped that, it's not going to move. So I'm going to go ahead and crop the tail, move that down a little bit, go to the end. Whee! There's that tail again. And return back for other videos. There's that tail I was talking about, just me looking at the camera awkwardly. So we're going to cut that off. And vroom. The front is a little bit more important where you start it than the tail, because at this point most people are, by the time you stop talking, they're going to turn it off, so it's a little bit less important for other videos. So as long as I have that little boop, then that's fine. I'm a little more careful on the front end, because where people start is the initial interaction that they're going to have for you. So I'm going to play that audio one more time. Camtasia can sometimes, maybe I want to bump that ducking up a little bit. Let's try that now. Save really big files, which is one of the reasons people don't necessarily like it. One of the ways that sounds a little better to me, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that 20%. Now that everything's all fancy, I'm going to save that file, and then I'm going to export it. So just go to export. I'm going to call this Screenflow video, and I'm going to export it and let it do its magic. So once that is done, then I will just upload it to YouTube and then post it as an embed into my website. And that's what you're viewing right now, probably. All right. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this kind of quick and dirty look at how I use Screenflow. And if Screenflow is something that is interesting to you, it's hyperlinked on the website, as well as there's tons of tutorials that are created by Screenflow, the company, as well as other people, if you want to get deeper into it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video.